I've always known people looked at me and saw nothing but a spoiled rich kid with zero purpose in life, the kind of guy who was born with a silver spoon yet still managed to be the joke of the Bennett family, and honestly, I didn't even bother denying it because what was the point? I was Ethan Bennett, the so-called youngest son of Richard and Margaret Bennett, one of New York's most powerful families, and all I really did was hang around the mansion, drink Coca-Cola instead of wine at parties, scroll my phone, and live without worrying about anything serious, which made me the easy target in every family gathering. My big brother Alex was a famous Hollywood director. My sister Sophia was practically a Wall Street shark in heels, and then there was me, the useless youngest who everyone figured would never carry on the Bennett legacy, and maybe they were right until the day everything changed, the day Sophia brought home a stranger who claimed to be me, the real Ethan Bennett, and my whole life turned upside down in less than an hour. It started on a Sunday afternoon at the Bennett estate in the Upper East Side, our place so big it could be mistaken for a museum, and I was in the living room half asleep on the couch when Sophia waltzed in with this tall, lean guy whose eyes were too sharp for his own good, and before I could even ask who the hell he was, he dropped to his knees in front of my parents and said, "Dad, Mom, I'm your son, the real one you lost years ago." The room went dead silent, like one of those reality shows where the producers drop a bombshell twist just to keep the audience hooked, and I swear I could almost see invisible comments flying across the air like a live stream barrack. If this had been social media, the chat would have exploded with, "WTF, plot twist of the year," and "Ethan about to get cancelled." I sat up straight, trying not to laugh, because the whole thing sounded insane, but my mom's face immediately softened, my dad narrowed his eyes, and Sophia, oh Sophia, she was smiling like she had just delivered a surprise gift, as if bringing in this stranger to replace me was her idea of fun. The guy introduced himself as Ryan, said he'd been separated from the family due to some twisted fate, raised outside in hardship while I enjoyed the life that should have been his, and then he looked at me with this weird mix of pity and disgust, like I was just some squatter who had stolen his seat at the table. My first instinct was to call BS, but my mom, always the practical one, quickly smoothed things over by suggesting maybe they were twins separated at birth, which was ridiculous but convenient, and just like that, this random guy wasn't being thrown out of our house, he was being embraced as the other Bennett son. I wanted to protest, but my dad's silence told me all I needed to know, he was actually considering it. From that moment, Ryan officially became Ryan Bennett, the long-lost heir, and overnight I went from being the useless son of the Bennett family to the potential imposter, though no one said it out loud. Still, actions spoke louder than words because within days, Ryan started slipping into my life like he'd been rehearsing this role forever. At parties, while I was off in the corner with a Coke, Ryan was dazzling guests with witty conversation, showing off perfect manners, talking business strategies like he'd studied the family company his whole life, and people ate it up, they loved him, they compared us, and I always came up short. I thought it was just family politics, that maybe Dad and Mom were testing me, but then I noticed how even Chloe Carter, the fiancée my parents had arranged for me since forever, started drifting toward him. Chloe was supposed to be mine, at least on paper, but she laughed too hard at his jokes, touched his arm like they were already close, and made it obvious who she preferred. That was when I realized I wasn't just being compared anymore, I was being replaced. The messed up part? Ryan knew exactly what he was doing. One night at a dinner party, he accidentally spilled wine on me, then apologized in such a humble, pitiful way that everyone sided with him, saying I was too harsh when I snapped back. He was painting himself as the good, misunderstood brother while making me look like the spoiled brat. And the crazy thing is, it worked. My parents told me to be more considerate, my sister defended him, even Alex said Ryan had potential. Potential for what? To kick me out of my own family? I laughed it off in public, because that's what I always do, but deep down, a storm was brewing, because I could feel if this wasn't some coincidence, this was calculated, a move straight out of a takeover playbook. And as much as I hated to admit it, I had no idea how far Ryan was willing to go or how much the family was willing to let him. I didn't know it yet, but the day Ryan stepped into our house was the day my role as Ethan Bennett started to crumble, piece by piece, and I'd have to decide whether to just drink Coke on the sidelines while he stole everything from me, or finally stand up and prove that the useless son wasn't so useless after all. After Ryan officially became part of the Bennett family, life at the estate started to feel less like my home and more like the set of some twisted reality TV show where I was cast as the background character, the comic relief, while he was the golden boy soaking up all the attention, and the worst part was that everyone seemed fine with it, even excited, like they had been waiting for a real son to finally show up. At first I thought maybe it was just the novelty of having a new family member around, like when you get a new puppy and everyone fawns over it, but no, this wasn't a phase. Ryan was carefully building his image brick by brick, and I could see it happening right in front of me, powerless to stop it. He knew how to say all the right things, praising Dad's business acumen, complimenting Mom's taste, casually dropping hints about stock portfolios or corporate strategy like he'd been reading Forbes since he was 5. Meanwhile, what was I doing? Sitting in the corner with a Coke, scrolling through memes, looking like a clown. I could almost hear the invisible live stream chat mocking me. Bro really lost his fiancée to his long-lost twin, Ethan built like an NPC, Ryan speedrunning life as the main character. And honestly, they weren't wrong, because Ryan wasn't just fitting in, he was replacing me, one piece at a time. The moment it hit me hardest was at a charity gala hosted by Bennett Group in Manhattan. Normally, these things were torture for me, long speeches, fake smiles, everyone acting like they were best friends when they'd stab each other for a stock deal. Usually I'd just slip out early and hit the Brooklyn Lounge for some soda and fries, but this time Dad insisted I stay. Turned out, he didn't need me there at all. Ryan was the star of the show. He gave a speech so polished you'd think he'd practiced it for years, talking about giving back to the community, and building a legacy of innovation. People were nodding, clapping, whispering about how impressive he was, and I swear even Dad had a proud little smile he hadn't given me in years. When it was over, donors swarmed him like bees to honey, while I stood awkwardly on the side, ignored, like some random guest who crashed the event. That night, Chloe Carter, my supposed fiancée, walked right up to Ryan in front of everyone, linked her arm with his, and started chatting with him like they were the couple of the hour. She didn't even look at me, and when she finally did, it was with that smug little smirk that said, "You can't compete." That stung more than I wanted to admit, but I laughed it off like always, pretending it didn't matter. Ryan didn't stop there. He started popping up in places I used to be, like he was erasing my footprint. He joined Alex on a film set in Hollywood, not as a background extra but as the actual male lead, because apparently Alex saw star potential in him. I visited the set once just to see for myself, and sure enough, Ryan was in costume, delivering lines like he was born for the camera, while everyone clapped and praised him. Me? I was just the weird brother sipping soda on the sidelines, getting side-eyed by the crew like I didn't belong. Even the tabloids started running stories. Who is Ryan Bennett, the charming new face of Hollywood, and Ethan Bennett, the forgotten heir? They weren't even subtle about it. One article called me a spoiled parasite who lived off family money, while Ryan was the true embodiment of Bennett values. Reading that was like swallowing glass, but I didn't show it. I screenshotted the comments though, because I couldn't decide if they were funny or tragic. At home, the comparisons kept piling up. Ryan played tennis with Dad and somehow beat him, which made Dad beam with pride. He cooked dinner with Mom, and she couldn't stop gushing about how thoughtful he was. Sophia dragged him to high-profile networking events, saying he had real potential. And Chloe, well, she was practically glued to him at this point, posting pictures with him on Instagram with captions like, "So proud of you," while I was cropped out of the frame. Imagine being replaced in real life, and online it was humiliating. I wanted to confront her, ask what the hell she thought she was doing, but deep down, I knew the answer. She was aligning herself with the future, and in her eyes, I wasn't it. The breaking point came at a dinner party when Ryan staged what I call the wine incident. He was sitting next to Chloe, telling some story about his rough childhood, making himself sound like some underdog hero, when suddenly he tipped his glass and spilled red wine all over my shirt. Everyone gasped, and before I could even react, he was already on his feet apologizing like crazy, eyes wide, voice trembling, playing the innocent victim. "I'm so clumsy, I didn't mean to." "Ethan must be furious with me," he said, practically bowing in front of me. And of course, when I snapped at him because hello, my shirt was ruined, everyone jumped to his defense. Mom told me to relax, Dad said I should be more understanding, and Chloe actually patted Ryan's shoulder like he was the one who needed comfort. That was when I realized I was losing this war badly, because Ryan wasn't just winning hearts, she was rewriting the narrative, painting himself as the good brother while I became the villain. Still, something about the whole act felt too polished, too rehearsed. I couldn't shake the feeling that Ryan had planned every move, like he was following a script. And if that was true, then there had to be an endgame, something bigger than just stealing my spotlight. Maybe it was Chloe, maybe it was the family company, maybe it was both. Either way, I knew I couldn't just sit back and let him take everything, but the problem was, no one believed me anymore. To them, Ryan was the golden son, and I was the spoiled brat. I laughed it off in public, but late at night in my room, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how long it would take before they cut me off completely. I didn't know it yet, but that day was coming faster than I thought, and when it hit, it wouldn't just be about losing my family's respect, it would be about losing my very place in the Bennett family tree. If part 2 of my life was Ryan stealing the spotlight in the Bennett family, then part 3 was him going full Hollywood star mode while I got pushed further into the background, and believe me, it wasn't subtle, it was like watching someone fast-forward their life to success while mine got stuck on pause. My brother Alex had always been the golden child, the director with Oscars on his shelf, and when Ryan showed up, Alex suddenly had this new muse, like he discovered the next Leonardo DiCaprio right in our family dining room, so of course he cast Ryan as the male lead in his new film, a romantic drama with a ridiculous budget, and everyone acted like it was destiny. I went to the set once in LA. And it felt like walking into a parallel universe, Ryan in designer suits, cameras flashing, crew members calling him Mr. Bennett, while I was literally the guy no one recognized, sitting in a corner with a Coke, catching dirty looks from assistants who probably thought I was a freeloader. When the trailer dropped, social media blew up. Ryan Bennett, the fresh face Hollywood needed, move over, Ethan, there's a new Bennett in town. Yeah, that last one trended for 2 days straight, and the comments were brutal. People dug up old photos of me looking like an idiot at parties, compared them to Ryan's glossy press shots, and made memes like Ethan Bennett, the Walmart version, versus Ryan Bennett, the Gucci version. At first I laughed, because honestly some of the memes were hilarious, but then I realized the narrative was shifting online the same way it had shifted at home. I wasn't just the useless son anymore, I was the fake one, the placeholder, the knockoff Bennett. The crazy part? Even Dad seemed to buy into it. One afternoon in his office, he handed Ryan 5% of Bennett Group stock like it was nothing, saying it was a reward for initiative, while I sat there trying not to choke on my soda. Do you know how long I'd been waiting for Dad to acknowledge me in the company? Years. And Ryan waltzes in, plays the perfect son for 6 months, and boom, stockholder. I wanted to be angry, but the truth is, I wasn't surprised. Ryan had mastered the art of being everything I wasn't, and people loved him for it. The employees at Bennett Group whispered behind my back, calling me the fake heir or Mr. Coca-Cola, and honestly I couldn't even blame them because that's how it looked. Ryan was the rising star, and I was just in the way. Chloe made things worse, of course. She wasn't even pretending anymore. She showed up to events on Ryan's arm, smiled at photographers like they were the real power couple, and acted like I was some embarrassing ex she was forced to acknowledge out of pity. I remember one time at a networking dinner, she clinked glasses with him and announced to the table that Ryan was everything a Bennett should be. I nearly spit my drink across the room, but everyone else just nodded in agreement. That night, when I tried to talk to her privately, she rolled her eyes and said, "Ethan, stop clinging to something that was never yours." Ouch. That line hit harder than I care to admit, but it also confirmed what I'd been suspecting. Chloe wasn't just into Ryan because he was charming, she was betting on him becoming the real heir, and she wanted in on that future. It didn't take long for the tabloids to catch up with the drama. Articles started surfacing about how Ryan Bennett is the true Bennett's son, while I was just a spoiled imposter. At first it was gossip sites, the kind that thrive on scandal, but then bigger outlets picked it up, and suddenly my entire reputation was being rewritten by strangers. Anonymous posts on forums claimed I'd bullied classmates, harassed staff, even bribed my way through school. None of it was true, but it didn't matter once it hit the internet, people believed it. And if that wasn't enough, whispers started about my bloodline, like maybe I wasn't even Richard Bennett's biological son. That one hurt the most, because even though my parents hadn't said it out loud yet, I could see the doubt in their eyes every time they looked at me. I tried to laugh it off in public, to play the carefree rich kid who didn't care what people thought, but inside, I was boiling. I knew Ryan was behind this, maybe not directly typing out the posts, but pulling strings, planting seeds, letting the world build his case for him. He didn't need to accuse me of being fake, he just let others do it for him. And damn, they did it well. It was like a coordinated takedown, a smear campaign designed to erase me and replace me with him. The breaking point came when an anonymous letter landed on Dad's desk, conveniently leaked to the entire board of Bennett Group. It contained lab results, a DNA test, showing that I wasn't genetically related to Richard Bennett. The timing was too perfect, like someone had been saving it for maximum damage. I wasn't in the room when Dad read it, but I heard the aftermath, raised voices, Mom crying, and Ryan's calm, steady tone telling everyone it didn't matter, that I was still his brother no matter what. Yeah, that's the kind of performance he gave, the selfless hero routine, and it worked. The board members rallied around him, the media spun it as, the prodigal son returns, and I was left standing in the ruins of my identity, wondering who the hell I even was anymore. From there, things spiraled. Social media exploded with hashtags like Fake Bennett and Ryan the Real Deal, while my DMs filled with insults, memes, and even threats. Chloe made her official switch, posting a photo with Ryan at the plaza with the caption, "My Forever." My mom suggested I take some time away from the estate to clear my head, which was just a polite way of saying, you don't belong here anymore. And my dad, well, he didn't even need to say anything, his silence told me everything. The family had chosen. Ryan was in, I was out. But here's the thing, as much as it hurt, as much as it felt like my life was collapsing, a small part of me knew this wasn't the end. Because if Ryan had gone to all this trouble to erase me, that meant he was hiding something, and sooner or later, I was going to find out what. And when I did, I wouldn't just expose him, I'd take back everything he stole. I thought I had already reached rock bottom after watching Emily walk away from me without a single glance back, but the universe has a way of reminding you that there's always another level lower than the one you thought was the bottom, and I found that out when I woke up the next morning to a storm of messages, missed calls, and screenshots being spammed into every group chat I was in. Turns out Emily didn't just reject me last night. She rejected me publicly, brutally, and in a way that made sure the whole world knew I was the clown of the night, the nice guy who thought he had a chance but got crushed by reality in front of an audience, and while I lay there staring at the ceiling, my phone vibrating every 10 seconds with another notification, I could feel the sting of humiliation burning deeper than any hangover. People love drama more than they love breathing, and my pain was their morning entertainment. So I dragged myself out of bed, threw on a hoodie, and went out to clear my head, but everywhere I went, whispers followed me, like an invisible scarlet letter tattooed across my forehead that screamed, rejected loser, and the worst part was that I couldn't even hate Emily for it, because the truth was I still loved her, and that was my curse. I carried it with me like a weight that wouldn't lift, no matter how much I wanted to rip it off. But that day wasn't just about me drowning in self-pity. It was also the day I noticed the shadows moving closer, Ryan and his little crew acting like they owned the city, like my downfall gave them a green light to step over me. I caught them laughing outside the coffee shop, their voices carrying just loud enough for me to hear as they dropped comments about how pathetic I was, about how Emily had upgraded to someone who actually had a future. I wanted to swing, to smash that smug grin off Ryan's face. But I clenched my fists until my knuckles turned white and I walked away, because deep down I knew fighting them now was exactly what they wanted me to explode, to look desperate, to confirm the narrative they were painting of me, so I swallowed it, burned it into memory, and told myself the day would come when the tables turned, and I'd be the one looking down at them. But it wasn't all darkness that day, because as I was leaving the coffee shop, Olivia appeared, calm, steady. And for the first time in weeks someone looked at me not with pity or mockery, but with genuine concern. She didn't say anything dramatic, just handed me a coffee and said, "You look like hell, but you'll be fine," and those simple words hit harder than anything else, because she wasn't coddling me, she wasn't lying, she was just real, and that was something I desperately needed. But of course, even that moment wasn't safe from the barrage, the invisible comments flashing around me like neon signs. Half of them mocking me for being comforted by Olivia, the other half spinning wild stories about a new rebound romance, and I realized then that my life wasn't just my own anymore. I was living in a world where every move I made was scrutinized, judged, twisted, and consumed for entertainment. It was exhausting, but also strangely clarifying, because if they were going to watch me anyway, if every step I took was going to be broadcasted like some reality show I never signed up for, then maybe it was time I started playing the game instead of being the fool who didn't know the rules. So that night, sitting in my apartment with the city buzzing outside my window, I made myself a promise. I wasn't going to chase Emily anymore, I wasn't going to throw punches at Ryan in the street, I wasn't going to drown in shame while strangers laughed. No, I was going to rebuild, piece by piece, quietly but relentlessly, and when the time came, when the stage was set, I'd show them all that the guy they wrote off as a joke was the one writing the final act. But I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Because feelings don't vanish just because you want them to, and even as I sat there telling myself I was done with Emily, her face kept flashing in my mind, her smile, her voice, the way she used to look at me before everything fell apart, and the cruel part was I didn't know if I wanted revenge or if I just wanted her back. But maybe the answer didn't matter right now. Maybe all that mattered was taking the first step out of the ashes, and that's exactly what I decided to do, unaware that the next chapter of my life was already waiting around the corner, ready to test if I really had the strength to rise or if I was just fooling myself again. When you hit the point where the whole world is laughing at you, you either break or you sharpen, and I wasn't about to stay broken, not for Emily, not for Ryan, not for anyone, so I started small, grinding away in silence while everyone thought I was still licking my wounds. No one saw the hours I poured into side hustles, the late nights teaching myself skills I should have picked up years ago, the way I cut out distractions and turned my phone into a tool instead of a time bomb filled with gossip and shame. It wasn't glamorous, hell, half the time I felt like I was drowning, but piece by piece I started pulling myself together, like a man patching armor for a war no one else knew was coming, and the barrage never let up. They kept throwing comments at me, mocking me, predicting my next failure, some even spinning conspiracies about me crawling back to Emily, but instead of breaking me, it fueled me. Every line of text became gasoline, every sneer became a spark, and I kept stacking that fire higher, waiting for the day I could light the whole damn thing. And in the middle of all that, Olivia kept showing up, not in some dramatic movie kind of way, but steady, consistent, like she had decided I was worth standing next to even when no one else did. She pushed me when I slacked, called me out when I tried to hide, and reminded me that even if the world thought I was done, I wasn't. But let's be clear, I wasn't some saint falling for the girl next door while forgetting Emily. No, Emily's ghost still lived rent-free in my head, especially when Ryan paraded her around like she was a trophy he'd stolen from me. Every time I saw them together it twisted something deep in my chest, made me wonder if I was building myself back up just to eventually try to win her back, or if I wanted to stand tall so I could look her in the eyes and show her what she threw away. And maybe those two motives were the same thing, maybe they didn't need to be separated, but either way I kept pushing, because standing still was the one thing I refused to do. And as weeks turned into months, the world around me started shifting in ways even I didn't expect. Opportunities that had always been locked doors started cracking open, people who ignored me before suddenly remembered my name, and slowly the laughter faded, replaced by curiosity, suspicion, maybe even a little respect. Though of course Ryan couldn't stand that, he needed me broken to feel like a king, so he doubled down, dragging my name into conversations, making sure Emily stayed close enough for me to see but far enough to remind me she wasn't mine anymore, and if it weren't for Olivia, I probably would have taken the bait, but she reminded me that revenge isn't about the first punch, it's about the last one, the one they never see coming, and so I waited, sharpening, planning, letting the world underestimate me one more time. Because if they thought part 1 of my story was humiliation, then part 2 was going to be transformation, and by the time part 3 rolled around, I wasn't just going to rise, I was going to take everything they thought they owned and turn it into the stage for my comeback, because the truth is, this was never just about Emily or Ryan anymore, it was about me refusing to stay the character they cast me as, the sidekick, the punchline, the good guy who loses. Nah, I was rewriting the script. And I knew damn well the final act was going to belong to me, but even as I thought that, a small voice in the back of my head whispered the one truth I hadn't faced yet: winning doesn't always mean getting the girl back, sometimes it means realizing you've outgrown her, and I didn't know which way my path was leading, but I knew the moment was coming when I'd find out, and when that moment hit, nothing would ever be the same again. The night everything came full circle wasn't planned, but looking back I realize it couldn't have happened any other way, because life doesn't give you neat little invitations to your redemption arc, it throws you into the fire and dares you to burn or rise, and that night Ryan hosted one of his big networking parties downtown, the kind of event where everyone who ever doubted me or laughed at me was guaranteed to be there. And normally I would have avoided it, but something in me knew this was the stage I'd been building toward, so I put on the suit I'd bought with my first big check, squared my shoulders, and walked through those doors like I belonged. The music was loud, the lights dim, and the room buzzing with people who used to treat me like background noise, only this time the stares weren't pity or mockery, they were curiosity. Whispers trailing behind me as people asked each other when I stopped looking like a loser and started looking like someone who could actually win, and I won't lie, it felt damn good, but the real test came when I saw Emily across the room, her hand looped through Ryan's arm, her smile polished but her eyes flickering just enough to tell me she noticed me, and Ryan, of course, noticed too, because he tightened his grip on her like I was still a threat, and maybe I was, but not in the way he thought. I didn't come there to fight over her. I came there to show them both that I had risen past the version of me they used to know. Still, Ryan couldn't resist. He swaggered over with that smug grin, his voice dripping arrogance as he threw out backhanded compliments about how surprising it was to see me there, how he didn't expect me to keep up in a room like this, and for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to swing, I didn't feel the heat of humiliation, I just smiled, calm, steady, because the truth was he didn't matter anymore. He thought he was the villain in my story, but he was just a footnote, a hurdle I'd already cleared. And Emily, well, she kept looking at me like she couldn't decide if she regretted her choices or if she was trying to measure whether I'd let her back into my life, and for a second my chest tightened, because part of me still remembered the girl I fell for, but then Olivia walked in, confident, radiant, not clinging to anyone, just standing tall on her own, and when our eyes met across the room I felt something click into place, something I'd been too stubborn to admit. Olivia wasn't the rebound, she wasn't the consolation prize, she was the one who'd been there when the world tore me apart, the one who believed in me before I even remembered how to believe in myself, and in that moment, I realized the weight of Emily's ghost was finally gone, she didn't own my heart anymore, and that freedom felt better than any revenge could, so when Ryan tried to bait me into some public showdown, I laughed, shook his hand like he was nothing more than a business acquaintance, and walked past him without a second glance. The barrage lit up around me, comments exploding like fireworks about how I'd leveled up, about how Emily looked stunned, about how Ryan finally looked small, and for once the noise didn't feel like judgment, it felt like applause, and when I reached Olivia, I didn't need a dramatic speech, I just told her the truth, that I was done looking backward, that I wanted to build something real, something forward, and the way she smiled back told me she already knew. She'd just been waiting for me to figure it out, and as the night went on, as the party blurred into laughter and deals and new beginnings, I understood that this was the final chapter of that old story, the one where I was the fool chasing someone who never truly saw me, and the first chapter of a new one where I wasn't defined by rejection or humiliation, but by how I turned it all into fuel to rise. So yeah. Maybe I started out as the punchline, the guy everyone mocked, but standing there with Olivia, with the city lights spilling in through the windows, I knew the truth. I had become the main character of my own damn story, and no one was ever going to take that away from me again.